They gave me 72 hours to destroy my own house. And the woman who handed me that ultimatum? By the end of the week, she was the one begging me not to take her home away. Funny how the world turns when people start flexing power they don't really have, especially the ones who love playing little dictators in neighborhoods with more rules than sense. Ever had to deal with an HOA bully? Yeah, that happened to me. I'm Jake Morrison, 34, software engineer, and up until last spring, I thought Millbrook Heights, Colorado was the quiet kind of place where people left you alone. Turns out, I was wrong. And if you've ever tangled with the HOA, you know it's never just about a mailbox or a fence. It's about control. That Tuesday started just like any other. I was in my cedar cabin. Yeah, the one I'd built myself. Wired up, insulated, permits framed on the wall. The whole deal. Just sipping coffee and watching the sunrise, when this woman in a crisp black coat, Rebecca Thornfield, strolled right into my backyard like she owned the world. "Good morning," she called, smile polished, handshake like she was selling you a timeshare. "I'm Rebecca, new president of the HOA. Oh, and she was welcoming me, which would have been funny if I didn't immediately clock her scanning my property like she was planning a heist. She loved the cabin, very rustic, she said, like that's a compliment. But when I mentioned the permits, I saw her eyes go cold, just for a split second. "That's wonderful you were so thorough with the county requirements," she said, which really meant, "I'm about to make this your problem." Next breath, she asked if she could call me Jake, then whipped out a violation notice like she was serving me papers on a crime drama. "We've got concerns about your structure here," she said, as if my office was a nuclear waste site. "This shed might not be in compliance with our community standards." She handed me the paper, big, bold red letters, and my stomach dropped. Her friendly tour? Total setup. The notice said my cabin was unpermitted and had to go, or I'd get hit with $500 a day fines. No specific rules cited, just threats and that signature HOA vagueness. I tried to keep it civil. "Rebecca, I have every permit. Right here. Can you show me which covenant I'm supposedly violating?" That's when she finally dropped the act. The HOA has broad authority to maintain community standards. Bottom line, the structure needs to go. She didn't flinch when I told her I'd be consulting my own attorney. In fact, it was clear she'd expected me to either grovel or blow up, not calmly stand there and treat her like the overzealous paper pusher she was. "Jake, you have 72 hours. This isn't personal." And just like that, she walked away, leaving me with a fresh violation notice and a cold anger I hadn't felt in years. She thought I was an easy mark. But Rebecca didn't know who she was dealing with. So, what do you do when someone tries to bulldoze your life's work over an invented rule? You go full engineer, gather data, dig in, and plan your next move. That night, my kitchen table disappeared under a mountain of HOA docs and county codes. I found what I'd expected. Original HOA covenants were reasonable, but there'd been a string of new amendments, broad, controlling, and all pushed through since Rebecca showed up. Even her election was shady, special vote, won by 3 out of 37 ballots, right after the old president resigned. The real kicker? Those amendments were written so loose they could have banned bird feeders if she felt like it. Wednesday, I called the county planning office. My cabin was 100% legal, permitted, inspected, and even used as a textbook example for accessory structures. Rebecca had nothing. But that afternoon, she came back, this time with Marcus Webb, the HOA's lawyer, who looked more like he'd rather be anywhere else. Trailing them were 3 neighbors, Mrs. Patterson, who gave me an apologetic smile, and the Chins from down the street, looking like they'd been roped into this circus. Marcus started his speech, all official-sounding threats. I just laid out my permits and zoning approvals, every signature and stamp. When I brought up a recent Denver case where HOA rules couldn't override county law, Marcus paled, Rebecca went red, and the neighbors suddenly looked interested. "Maybe we should reconsider, Rebecca," Marcus mumbled, but she dug in. 72 hours, or we sue." As they left, Marcus lingered, muttered, "I'm sorry," and hurried after her. Tim Chun hung back, quietly said, Most of us think your cabin's great. She's lost it. That was the moment I stopped playing defense. I called Tom Chun, a PI buddy from my college days who'd left Denver PD to sniff out corporate scams. Run Rebecca Thornfield. See if she's hiding anything. Tom got interested real fast, said he'd dig through HOA finances, contracts, the whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, I walked the neighborhood, really looking at the details for the first time. Rebecca's place had a deck, an expanded driveway, professional landscaping, all suspiciously recent. None of it looked permitted. HOA meeting minutes showed she'd pushed through exclusive landscaping contracts with a shell company, Greenfield Corporation. Tom called that night, voice buzzing. Jake, Greenfield is fake. No records, P.O. box address, money flowing into Rebecca's personal accounts. She's been scamming your whole neighborhood. And all those upgrades on her house, paid for with HOA dues. She was deep in debt, bleeding money, and desperate to keep the scam going. The next morning, Rebecca texted me with a whole new attitude, sweet, apologetic, wanted to find a compromise. I told her we should chat, in my backyard, with her favorite cabin as the backdrop. I spent the night printing bank records, contract evidence, everything Tom had found. Rebecca showed up the next morning in jeans and a nervous smile, brought coffee, tried to spin a tale about community harmony. She even offered to have Greenfield fix up my cabin landscaping for cheap. Classic. That's when I dropped the question. Rebecca, does Greenfield Corporation actually exist? She looked like I'd punched her. Before she could recover, neighbors started showing up. Mrs. Patterson, the Chins, David Martinez, Carol Williams, the whole block. Turns out Carol had tried to audit the HOA books, only to get harassed with code violations and threats. She'd done her own digging, confirmed Greenfield was fake, found patterns of retaliation, shared everything she knew. People started comparing notes. Fines, sudden rule changes, surprise inspections. Rebecca had been running the HOA like a mob boss, and now it was all coming out. Rebecca tried to call the cops, claiming I was breaking HOA rules. When the police arrived, they reviewed my permits, glanced at the evidence, and basically told her, "Ma'am, you're the one in trouble here." The neighbors were furious, demanded her resignation, threatened lawsuits, planned a full audit. That night, I grilled burgers and laughed with Mrs. Patterson about Rebecca's meltdown, until she told me Rebecca was calling an emergency HOA meeting to try and kick me out entirely. You can't make this stuff up. Saturday night at the community center, the place was packed. Rebecca started with her greatest hits. Jake is a threat to property values, setting a dangerous precedent, yada yada. Then it was my turn. I calmly laid out the photos, financial records, fake contracts, and conflict of interest. Neighbors passed documents, did the math, realized how much they'd been scammed. Board member Patricia Reynolds finally stood up. If this is true, Rebecca needs to resign now. Rebecca threatened to tie up the neighborhood in lawsuits, her final play. Mrs. Patterson made the motion to remove her. Vote was unanimous. Rebecca, the HOA queen, was done. 3 days later, I sent Rebecca a registered letter. I'd quietly bought her mortgage from her lender, using connections from my fintech job. Legally, I now owned her debt. I called her up, told her she could either start paying me triple rent to stay or face foreclosure. Gave her the same 72-hour deadline she gave me. I'll be honest, I savored every second BY Monday. Rebecca caved. Within a week, the ex-HOA tyrant was my tenant, paying me $4,500 a month to live in a house she once ruled like a castle. 6 months later, the neighborhood had completely turned around. New HOA board, fair rules, landscaping costs slashed, property values up, and a real sense of community. I even started a little business helping neighbors with their own backyard projects and legal paperwork, sometimes even fixing the unpermitted work Rebecca left behind. And Rebecca? She works 2 jobs now, drives a beat-up Honda, keeps her head down, and writes me a rent check every month. No more threats, no more power trips. When people ask if I feel bad about how it ended, I just think back to that Tuesday morning, the arrogance in her eyes, the way she tried to bully people who just wanted peace. Justice isn't always dramatic. It's sometimes just letting karma do its thing while you sip coffee in the home you built with your own hands. That if you've ever tangled with an HOA dictator, or if you've got a story about neighborhood drama and power plays, drop your experience below. Let's talk about where the line is, what's right, what's just, and how you deal with bullies who think they're above the rules. Because sometimes, the best revenge is just outlasting them and collecting the rent.